Spatial determinants of behavior are an underlying foundation of park design, recreation programming, and interpersonal human behavior. This video is a primer and builds on the work of Sommers, Hall, and others. There are three types of space. Informal space is a space that people maintain between themselves. It is determined by how you see, your senses, fight or flight, and it is influenced by the culture. Semi-fixed feature space is a space which we can easily move, but which we normally don't move. It includes furniture, chairs, tables, desks, and unbolted park benches. Fixed feature space is space which is not movable. It includes buildings, parks, walls, and unbolted park benches. There are four general types of informal space. These are intimate, personal, social, and public distances. There is a close and far phase in each group. This video emphasizes the main groupings. According to Hall, intimate distance between people ranges from 0 to 18 inches. Invariably, there is physical contact. Only a whisper is needed to be heard. Because of the closeness, vision is blurred. Any body odors or person's body heat can be sensed. The intimate couple is an obvious example of intimate distance. Wouldn't you want to know what these two women are discussing? As they lean towards each other, they speak in whispers. Personal distance ranges from 1.5 feet to 4 feet. Much of normal conversation occurs at this distance. The voice level is normal. The sharp vision may still be distorted. Body odors are still present. Reach out. Most people's reach is roughly 3 feet. The other person is still in your grasp. In both the sitting and standing examples, note that the people are not facing each other directly. This enables them to survey what is going on around them. In the Steve Van Meter campfire, campers sit in a circle around a basketball-sized campfire, physically touching the person next to them. The person next to you is at an intimate distance. Others in the group are at a personal or close social distance. Facial details in the flickering light make for a very intimate campfire by design. Social distance ranges from 4 to 12 feet. The voice is normal. The finest details of the other person's face, such as the capillaries in the eyes, are lost. Other features, such as the skin texture, hair, and condition of the clothes, are readily visible. Generally, body odors are no longer recognizable. Fleeing increasingly becomes an option. The employee sitting across a large desk can easily be at a close social distance of 4 to 5 feet. Educators, interpreters, or tour guides speaking to their group can easily be at a far social distance of 7 to 12 feet. Public distance ranges over 12 feet apart. The far phase begins at 25 feet. Actors on a stage need to animate their gestures to look normal and to project their voices. At these distances, an alert person can easily take evasive action if threatened. Like most council rings, this council ring is designed where the audience is at a public distance from the presenter. The presenter needs a raised voice and animated gestures. Compare this experience with the more intimate Steve Van Meter campfire. Semi-fixed feature space is space which we can move but which we normally do not move. Seating arrangements reflect the basic relationships of conversing, co-acting, cooperating, and competing seating positions. A key to conversing is that these two women want to be able to see each other and at the same time be able to survey the scene. Generally, conversing occurs at a personal distance or a close social distance. People co-acting seek to avoid interaction with each other. Little or no eye contact is made. In public areas, people will normally sit one per table until most of the tables are occupied. When forced to sit two at a table, they will sit adjacent to each other. People cooperating are friends or allies who sit together side by side, but who are not actively conversing with each other. However, moving the seats slightly, they can easily converse. In general, people sitting opposite each other are in a competing situation. It is distance related, and research indicates that it overlaps with conversing and co-acting. At close distances, sitting across from each other becomes a conversing situation. Beyond 7 feet or a far social distance, sitting opposite each other increasingly becomes co-acting. In the classroom, the chairs are organized in a lecture format. The seating arrangement facilitates one-way communication between the instructor and students. Usually students tend to arrange themselves at a far social distance and public distance in the back of the classroom. Consistent with the semi-fixed feature space, the chairs are rearranged into a circular format to facilitate a discussion. In this example, students are roughly 8 to 12 feet apart or a far social distance. This author sat at a contentious board of directors where people positioned themselves predictably around the conference table. The person in charge, the president, would sit at the head of the table. The second in charge, or the person in opposition, normally sits at the other end of the table. However, this spot was reserved for the secretary, so there can be mitigating circumstances. Supporters of the president sat on the right, and the opposition normally sat on the left. The greater the opposition, the further away they would sit from the head. In this case, the head of the opposition sat in the middle of the left. The strongest ally would normally sit closest to the head on the right. If the head of the opposition sits on the other end of the table, his allies are now situated to his right and the opposition to his left. Opposing sides sat on opposite sides of the table, facilitating a competing situation between the two sides. One member of the board, who considered himself an isolate, consistently chose to sit at the desk in the corner of the room away from the group. Consider the following office semi-fixed feature space examples. The first scene is a formal setup with a small desk in the social distance near phase. Increase the size of the desk and the social distance becomes the far phase with more separation between parties. Add a sofa, chair, and coffee table for more informal meetings that are discussion-oriented. Or change it to a circular table to emphasize a team approach where people are sitting equal distance around the table. Add the fixed feature space feature of a door to the office, and privacy can be obtained over a cubicle. Fixed feature space is space which is not normally movable. It includes buildings, parks, walls, and bolted park benches. When redesigning the House of Commons, Winston Churchill stated that we shape our buildings and they shape us. He wanted to keep the opposing sides in close proximity to each other. The fixed feature space was designed to create a competitive situation at a public distance, and members of the same party are sitting in a cooperative position next to each other. Returning to the council ring, the design of the fixed feature space reflects the designer's vision. Imagine the difficulty of performing a Steve Van Meter campfire in this space, or even the desirability of doing it here. The space is not designed for this type of experience. Best known for his red books, the famous landscape gardener of the 18th century, Humphrey Repton, modified the English landscape on a grand scale. Illustrating his change of fixed feature space is his picturesque before and after watercolor of water at Wentworth, Yorkshire. The meadow was converted to a lake, the bridge was added, and the trees and shrubs planted. The Wilderness Act of 1964 attempts to design an untrammeled or like a team of wild horses type experience, where nature is the designer of the park experience. Like Repton, it is the design of fixed feature space on a grand scale, except that it is biocentric or nature-centered rather than anthropocentric or man-centered. In summary, informal space is the distance people maintain between themselves. It is based on how you see, your senses, fight or flight, and it is influenced by the culture. It is the basis for semi-fixed and fixed feature space. Semi-fixed feature space includes movable features like chairs, furniture, and tables. Reflecting informal space, people position themselves to converse, compete, cooperate, or co-act with others. The impact of distance is best demonstrated with the competing distance, where at close distances the experience becomes conversing, and as distance increases, the experience increasingly becomes coactive. Fixed feature space is immovable space. Actually, it is space designed by architects and park planners and built by construction workers. Building design is the obvious impact of fixed feature space on people's behavior. Repton's park design occurred on a grand scale, as does wilderness also. Spatial determinants of behavior are an underlying foundation of park design, recreation programming, and interpersonal behavior. As a primer, it is fundamental to designing the experience.